Well, actually at 223 the VMS says, so we're heading more southwest. Steady as she goes as we go down these eroded original clay capping, and you can see the detour and the clay capping on the next dune. Interesting, the vegetation that's established either side of the clay capping up here ahead. Presumably the clay holds the water better and allows the plants to establish and be maintained. Clay capping, then back onto the wind-blown sand that's come in onto the top of the dune. Back onto the clay capping, and down, what actually looks like the original road, so hasn't been eroded as badly here. This is the remains of a camel that was shot in 2011. And is now 18 months old. As you can see, the carrion eaters have stripped the skeleton fairly bare, and the hide has remained. So, and this is part of the camel culling that national parks and primary industries have been doing in the Simpson desert. They use a system called the Judas camel, where they put a radio tracking collar on a big male and let him go, and every few weeks they go out and shoot all the herd that he's found. Enough to make him develop a complex, I reckon. One of the things you've got to watch here on the rig road is that some of the dunes can be quite complex, where you'll get multiple crests, and so you'll drop off one and think you're okay, but then bang, straight into another one. Then there'll be nice stretches of clay cap road where you can get wound up. It's the rig road about 15 k's west of Knowles Track, and you can see here the original clay cap road has survived fairly well. Here we are, 17 kilometres west of Knowles Track on the rig road. There it goes, due 269 degrees, in other words 1 degree off due west. Generally a good track, a few bad washouts and sort of a couple of nasty dunes, but nothing you can't handle with a bit of experience and good luck. This is a magnificent dune on the rig road. Looks like one of the kestrels flying off up to the right there. But notice the colour of the dune. The lighter the colour, the younger the dunes. When they get red, the minerals have leached out of the clays and attached to the sand grains. But this dune must almost compete with Big Red, so we'll call it Little Yellow. Whoa! Nice little drop off on this side. Trap for young players and old ones like me. This is the classic clay cap leading up to the sandy crest, and sometimes you'll have a second crest, as we've got here, go down to the old clay cap and then back up to the sandy crest on the other side. We're almost at the Erebana track. We're just coming onto the junction between the Rig Road and Erebana track, and the Lone Gum is another 6 kilometres, and then Dalhousie 246 after that. And aren't I looking forward to that swim. This is the Lone Gum, a well-known feature in the Simpson desert, and here it is perched out in the middle of nowhere. Obviously a few people have had their campfires here. Bright Spark has put a koala up in the tree, which is rather fun. It's actually a coolabah tree, and quite a different species. It's a box coolabah, and they call them the boxes because of the rough bark. This is a track about a kilometre south of the Lone Gum, heading down to where the Rig Road does a right-hand turn and goes due west. Still heading south on the Rig Road from the Lone Gum, and as you can see, the track here is about a half a metre to a metre in, sunk into the ground, and relatively overgrown, but fortunately not much in the middle of the track, although we do get the occasional bottom scrape when we hit one of these bumps. But otherwise it's good running, and especially when you get onto patches like this, which is the floor of a salt clay pan. What with old trees and camel droppings and an interesting track. We're only about a kilometre or so from where the southward bound Rig Road turns right and goes west on the southernmost part of the Rig Road. This is where we get into the geocrete or gypsum remnants of an old lake bed, or maybe one of the deposits much like the Aberdeen Knolls. I really don't know what the geological origins of these are, except to say it's gypsum and deposited initially by wind and then cemented by water. The geologists tell me that if you want water, dig underneath one and you'll find it. Here's one of the many signed parts of the Simpson, thanks to the Friends of the Simpson Deserts and National Parks. We're at Junction, and you could go on the Erebana track or the French line, and the track is closed from here due east, and you'd get fined if you went along it. So let's go west, where our Desert Parks Pass allows us to go, and we have a few more of these clay-capped dunes that have eroded out to have a bit of fun on. Here we are heading west on the Rig Road, and as you can see, the clay cap has well and truly disappeared under these drifts of sand as we head across a few more dunes. It appears on all the dunes that we've crossed that the wind has been from the east, and it's swept the sand from the eastern side of the dunes over to the western side, so we're finding we're dropping off the backs of the dunes as we go westwards. Traditionally across the Simpson it was west to east was easier. Well, this year that doesn't seem to be the case. We'll have a look at this dune as we go up and over, but it certainly appears that the winds have been from the east this year, pushing the sand up over the dunes onto the western side. So you can see here where the subsoil stuff is exposed, and then we're getting sand blows on the western side. It'll be more pronounced on the next dune top. Here we're getting all the stuff in the sand exposed by the blowing sand, and the drifts are going up and onto the western side of the dunes. Some places creating cliffs that you drop off. Here's an example of the eastern wind now blowing the dunes over to the western side, so we drop off into the softer sand on the western side of the slope. Here we are on the rig road, and you can see how the sand's been eroded away from the top here, and then it's been dropped over here as a very steep ridge. So if you were coming from west to east, you'd have to be climbing those sand dunes. Much harder. This is the western side of the dune, and you can see the options you have of getting over the dune. If you're coming from the west, it's would be rough work. It's a vertical wall. So thank goodness we're going west. This shows the way the dune tops are still mobile. Quite scary driving over because you're not sure what you're going to get into on the other side. And sometimes, like that one, it's a bunch of bush. We just broke a new track. See how that drift is now formed up beautifully, making for an impossibility to go through where they were operating previously. Road about 20 kilometres south of Lindy Junction, which is where the rig road links up with the western end of the WAA line and turns left to go to Dalhousie, or you continue up Colson's track onto the French line. But here we are at Lindy's Junction, which is where the WAA line meets up with the rig road, and you can turn right and go to those places as shown there, or you can go straight ahead on the WAA line east to Colson's track and the Urbana track, which are the north-south tracks. The WAA line runs parallel with the French line, but we're going to continue on the WAA line track, which is now called the rig road again. And this has all been clay capped, and as you can see here, beautiful red dunes, and sadly the clay capping is quite badly eroded, so makes for interesting times. This is a 36-kilometre run from Lindy's Junction to where the road turns at Macquarie airstrip, and then it's another 19 kilometres up to the French line from there. So and it looks like we're one of the first ones through here this year again. On the rig road about 1.5 k's west of Lindy's Junction, and you can see these beautiful red dunes, multiple crests, and the road in general is quite good, but washouts are a danger to be very aware of. Beside the clay capping, here's another clay cap. Hasn't had the sand blow over it.